Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Suicide Squad. Since the Suicide Squad just came out, I thought I'd do a video doing a pitch of an idea I've had for a little while. And that idea is a live-action Suicide Squad TV show that is a spin-off of the movies and takes place in the DCEU. Now I know you might be thinking, a Suicide Squad TV show that's a spin-off of the films, how does that even work? Firstly, this isn't going to be called Suicide Squad, or Suicide Squad the show, Suicide Squad Origins, or anything like that. This is going to be called Task Force X. For those of you who don't know, maybe you're not very familiar with Suicide Squad as a property, Task Force X is the literal in-universe name for the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad itself is more of a nickname. I guess it's sort of implied that the government wouldn't call something the Suicide Squad, so they came up with Task Force X as the official name for the team as far as the government is concerned. However, Task Force X is a really badass name, and I really want to use it, so here we are. Besides, could you imagine a Suicide Squad franchise that consists of a film called Suicide Squad, a film called The Suicide Squad, and a TV show called Suicide Squad, like just in the same universe? It would have been madness. Madness, I tell you. The second main thing about the series is that, at least initially, it takes place in World War II. The framing around this show is that Task Force X was initially set up in World War II by the government so that they could use criminals to go on recon missions and other kind of missions that they wouldn't be able to get superheroes to do. The leader of the team is Colonel Rick Flag, the grandfather of Rick Flag from the movies, who would probably be played by Joel Kinnaman. As for the rest of the team, here's the down low. So, since this is taking place during World War II, which is when comics first blew up in pop culture, I think it would be a great idea to use a bunch of obscure Golden Age comic book superheroes and villains for the Suicide Squad team, and just really make the show a love letter to Golden Age comics. So here's a few ideas to get the ball rolling on members of this Suicide Squad, and if you have any ideas of your own, leave them in the comments below. Ultra-Humanite. Ultra-Humanite was one of the very first supervillains and the first supervillain to fight Superman in the comics. Obviously in World War II, Superman doesn't exist yet, but Ultra-Humanite can still be a major force to be reckoned with. He has artificially enhanced his own brain capacity so that he's crazy intelligent. Think kind of like the Thinker in the Suicide Squad, but just incredibly smart. He eventually outgrows his skull by his brain because it's just so big, and so not far into the series he has to start going on a never-ending quest for a host body that can contain his massive brain, jumping from computers to large animals, things like that. It's really cool. He's more the guy in the chair, the intelligent one, but that animal thing kind of factors into this next one. Congorilla. So basically, we have this Indiana Jones type character named Congo Bill, and he has this magic ring that allows him to swap brains with this sort of mythological African creature called the Golden Gorilla, and together they're kind of known as Congorilla, right? So basically, they swap brains, and that's a really interesting way to place the characters, because it's not just he transforms into a gorilla, but basically whenever he summons the gorilla, his body stays where it is, and then his brain gets transported into this gorilla, who then has to come to the location and help. And he has to make sure that his normal body isn't killed or anything like that. And the whole time, this gorilla's brain is walking around in his body, which is really cool as well. It's a really unique way to, like, a circumstance for characters to be in that I haven't really seen in other places. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but I haven't seen anything in this particular way, and I think that's really cool. Next is the Human Bomb. He was working with his father, who was a scientist, creating weapons to be used against the Nazis when the Nazis came in and attacked and killed his father. In order to keep these weapons out of Nazi hands, he swallowed the chemicals, and it basically had this effect on his body where if he touches and makes contact with anything, it'll explode. And so he's constantly wearing this suit that will stop him from touching things and exploding. But he uses these powers against the Nazis as a part of the Suicide Squad, where he kind of goes around and if they need to blow something up, takes off his glove, touches it. It's pretty cool. And obviously there's a lot of great symbolism to be had with him being in this suit that protects the rest of the world from him, and how that deals with him psychologically, and he's really the most tragic member of the team. Next, we add in the Golden Age Sandman, gas mask and all. I think he'd be a really cool addition to the team, and he can make people fall asleep with his gun, and I think would be really useful in recon missions with supervillains, to be used with the government. But, he has a lot of great things to do there. He could even be like a superhero that did something wrong and then got sent to prison, and so he's amongst all these supervillains, which is a really cool, way to go about. I mean, Congorilla is also kind of a hero, so they could kind of be in that same boat together, but overall, I think that would be really cool. Last but not least is Dr. Occult, who is a character that was created by Joe Siegel and Jerry Schuster, the creators of Superman, before they even created Superman. He is the oldest DC Comics superhero that is still technically active within the DC universe. He's essentially a detective with magical powers, but he has a lot of potential, and all of these characters have their place on the team. Colonel Rick Flag is the military leader type who keeps everybody in check. Ultra-Humanite is the brains of the operation. Congorilla is the brawn. The human bomb just has the power to help the team out. Dr. Occult is the magical one and the detective on the team. And, Sandman, he can quickly, quietly, and non-lethally take out enemies while being super sneaky, which makes him ideal for missions that the government would send them on. Speaking of, what are the arcs of the show? Well, the first 2 or 3 seasons of the show would be taking place during World War II. The first season would be all about the Germans creating weapons to stop the Allied forces, and the US sending the squad to grab these weapons and get them out of German hands. And obviously there's a lot of moral ambiguity there, especially since they don't have the modern hindsight that we do. They're living in the moment, which is a really great part of it. And I also think a great villain for the first season would be Isabel Maru, aka Dr. Poison, who we see in the first Wonder Woman. I thought she was great in that, but that she was also underutilized, and it's not like we're gonna see her anytime soon with the Wonder Woman movies getting past that. So I think it'd be great to use her here, especially since she fits in so well with the weaponry theme. And then the second season can focus on the squad having to recover the mother box that was found in Germany during World War II, as we find out in the Snyder Cut, which obviously isn't necessarily canon, but, it can still be a part of the universe to be explored, wherein they discover this mother box, which obviously the Germans are going to try to use as some kind of weapon, and they have to get it out of their hands, but it could be something more complex, both literally and morally around that, which there's a lot of potential there. There could also be a lot of other heroes and villains introduced throughout the series, with lots of characters being killed off every few episodes. I think a great opportunity would be to bring in the Blackhawks as kind of a more morally righteous version of the squad in a way. Not exactly, obviously, they have different mission, but they could be almost rivals to the squad in a way, and, there's a lot to unpack there, and also that could even lead to a Blackhawks TV series if, people like them. And after the first 2 or 3 seasons, we could make it a little bit more of an anthology series wherein each season takes place in a different era with a different team of heroes. Like, imagine a series taking place in the late 80s, early 90s, wherein the squad has to deal with Starro first being taken in by the US government. The Russians are after him too. It's a very gray issue morally over the Russians and the US. What side is going to do what with Starro, and also think there's got to be something big that happened with Starro that led to the US just kind of pushing him over into Corto Maltese. What is that? Could that include the squad? Who knows? And that would be a great thing to explore. Or imagine another season where, it takes place largely in Gotham in the early 80s, and there are crime bosses after the Wayne parents, and so the Suicide Squad has to protect the Wayne family while also fending off the crime boss. Maybe it's Two-Face, maybe it's, maybe it's the Penguin, who knows? And even then, it would be awesome because we could also see not only the death of the Wayne parents, but also that incident doesn't just inspire Batman, but it could also inspire and also just affect the storyline with the team where they sort of fail their mission. How do they deal with that? There's a lot to work with there as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little pitch idea. If you have any of your ideas of your own, or you just liked it and want to let me know in the comments. I'm always active in the comments, so talk to me down there. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe for videos every week on the franchises you love, and I'll see you next time.